Mr. Petrov, please, we need you to listen. We are prepared to offer you a full expedited transfer immediately, plus compensation if we can just move past this misunderstanding today." The voice on the other end of the line was shaking. It was the district manager, a man who 48 hours ago wouldn't have pissed on me if I was on fire. Now he sounded like he was watching his career burn to the ground in real time. I sat back in my cheap office chair, took a sip of lukewarm coffee, and watched the notifications on my second monitor scroll by like a waterfall. It was beautiful, it was chaotic, and it was absolutely unstoppable. But to understand how I ended up holding a bank manager hostage with nothing but a laptop and $3, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to when I made the innocent mistake of trying to trust a local business. It started with a philosophy I used to live by: support the little guy. I've lived in this town for 5 years. I work hard, I pay my taxes, and I've managed to save up a decent nest egg. When big corporate banks started hitting everyone with monthly maintenance fees, I decided to move my money to a small, local outfit called Oak Creek Credit Union. You know the type: brick building, free lollipops at the counter, a slogan about community values. It felt safe, it felt personal. God, I was naive. The trouble began on a rainy Tuesday. I needed cash for a contractor who was coming to fix a leak in my bathroom. I went to the ATM outside the branch, inserted my card, and nothing. The machine whirred, clicked, and spat the card back out with a generic error message. I walked inside, shaking the rain off my jacket. The lobby was empty except for a teller named Sarah. She was nice enough, typing away on her outdated computer. "I'm sorry, Mr. Petrov," she said, frowning at the screen. "Our ATM network is having a hiccup with the local server. But since you're here, I can do a manual override. I'll give you a transaction code. You just punch this into the keypad outside, and it'll dispense the cash directly from your checking account. It bypasses the card reader." It sounded unofficial, maybe a little janky, but she was the employee. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I just wanted my own money. She wrote a 6-digit code on a sticky note. I went outside, punched it in, and the machine gave me the cash. Simple, right? I didn't know it at the time, but that sticky note was the first domino in a chain reaction that would nearly ruin my life. Fast forward 3 days. I was at the grocery store, a week's worth of food on the conveyor belt. There was a line of 5 people behind me. When the cashier announced the total, I tapped my card. Beep beep. Declined. My stomach dropped. That flush of heat hit the back of my neck. "Sorry," I mumbled, avoiding the eyes of the woman behind me. "Let me try again." Beep beep. Declined. "Sir," the cashier said, her voice loud enough for the next register to hear, "it says card frozen. Contact issuer." I had to leave the groceries. I walked out to my car, hands trembling, not from cold, but from humiliation. I checked my mobile app. Account status: under review. Available balance: $0. I called Oak Creek immediately. I expected a quick apology. I expected, "Oh, silly computer glitch, let us fix that." Instead, I got Gary. Gary was one of those support agents who clearly hated his job, his life, and specifically me. "Your account has been flagged for suspicious activity regarding an unauthorized withdrawal code," Gary droned. "It wasn't unauthorized," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. "Your teller, Sarah, gave it to me because your ATMs were broken." "We see a debit that failed to reconcile with the ledger immediately. The system flagged it as a potential exploit. Compliance has locked the funds pending an investigation." "Okay," I said. "Call Sarah. She's at the main branch. She can verify it right now." "Compliance is a separate department, sir. They review cases in the order they are received. It could take up to 30 days. 30 days? I shouted. "You have all my money. I have rent due in a week. I have bills. You can't just hold my life hostage because your system is slow." And this is where the tone shifted. This is where it stopped being a bureaucratic mistake and became personal. Gary let out a sigh that crackled through the phone speaker. "Look, Mr. Petrov," he said, emphasizing my last name with a distasteful pause, "I don't know how banking works where you come from, but here we have rules. You used a bypass code. That looks like fraud. Until we prove it isn't, the money stays. Where I come from? I've been a citizen for a decade. I have a darker complexion and a Slavic last name, and suddenly I'm a scammer? My name has nothing to do with your incompetent software, I snapped. Sir, if you raise your voice, I will terminate this call. And he did. Click. I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel. I was locked out. The next 3 weeks were a nightmare. I had to borrow money from a friend just to keep my electricity on. I ate instant ramen every night. Every morning, I called the bank. Every morning, I was told, it's still under review. I went to the branch, but Sarah was on leave, and the manager refused to override corporate compliance. I felt powerless. I was a tiny insect being crushed by a boot, and the boot didn't even care. They knew I couldn't sue them. I didn't have the money for a lawyer because they had all my money. I needed to vent. I called my family back in the old country. My cousin Nico picked up. Nico is 22, brilliant, and morally flexible when it comes to technology. He listened to me rage for 20 minutes. They are mocking you, Alex, Nico said, his voice tinny over the speakerphone. They think you are weak because you play by the rules. I don't have a choice, Nico. They have the gold, so they make the rules. No, Nico laughed. They care about image. Small banks rely on trust. If people think the bank is unsafe, the bank dies. You need to hit them where it hurts. I can't afford a billboard, Nico. You don't need a billboard. You need a crowd. He paused. There is a service. It is, how do you say, gray market. It's run out of a basement in St. Petersburg or maybe Moscow. For a few rubles, real people, or very advanced bots, it is hard to tell anymore, will post whatever you want on social media. I hesitated. Is that legal? Is it legal for them to steal your rent money because they are too lazy to check a ledger? Nico countered. Send me the link to their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and send me $3. $3? That's it? The exchange rate is in your favor, cousin. Trust me. I was desperate. I was angry. And frankly, I wanted to see Gary squirm. I transferred the tiny amount of crypto to Nico's wallet and drafted a few prompts. I didn't want threats. I wanted realism. I wanted chaos. I wrote things like, Oak Creek froze my grandmother's pension for no reason. System error caused me to lose my house deposit. Stay away. The managers here are rude and discriminatory. Nico set the parameters. The service allowed us to choose the region of the profiles. We selected North America to make it look authentic. Initiating, Nico said. I sat at my computer, refreshing the Oak Creek Credit Union Facebook page. Their latest post was a picture of a smiling couple shaking hands with a loan officer. It had 2 likes and 0 comments. Then the first one appeared. Janet_M55. I trusted this bank, and they locked me out of my accounts for weeks. Worst service ever. Then another, Mike_Trucker88. Scam alert. They hide fees and refuse to answer the phone. Then 5 more. Then 20. It was like watching a dam break. Within an hour, there were 300 comments. But it wasn't just the number. It was the content. The AI Nico used was terrifyingly good. The bots were arguing with each other. They were tagging local news stations. They were leaving 1-star reviews on Google Maps, Yelp, and the Better Business Bureau simultaneously. The bank's social media manager, probably some poor intern, tried to delete them. But for every one they deleted, 3 more appeared. Why are you deleting comments? What are you hiding? This bank discriminates against immigrants. I'm withdrawing everything tomorrow before they freeze me too. That last one was the killer, the threat of a bank run. That's the one thing that terrifies financial institutions more than robbery. By 2 p.m., their Twitter was trending locally, #OakCreekScam. By 3 p.m., they had turned off comments entirely on Facebook, which only made the Twitter mob and the bots angrier. I watched it all from my apartment, eating my ramen, feeling a dark, cold satisfaction. I wasn't just a number anymore. I was a natural disaster. At 4:15 p.m., my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew who it was. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello, I said, feigning exhaustion. Mr. Petrov? The voice was frantic. This is Robert Thorne. I'm the regional manager for Oak Creek. Oh, I said. Did you finish the review? It's only been 26 days. Mr. Petrov, we've been made aware of a significant amount of negative attention regarding your situation online. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have internet access right now because I couldn't pay my bill, because you have my money. There was a heavy silence. He knew. He absolutely knew, but he couldn't prove it. Right, of course, Thorne stammered. Look, I've personally looked into your case. It seems there was indeed a clerical error on our end regarding the manual code. The teller, Sarah, confirmed it. We are terribly sorry for the delay. Gary told me it would take 30 days, I said. Gary told me banking works differently where I come from. Thorne made a choking sound. Gary will be spoken to, retrained, immediately. Mr. Petrov, I want to make this right. I can release the hold right now. I don't want the hold released, I said calmly. I don't trust your bank anymore. I want to close the account. We would hate to lose you I want a cashier's check for the full balance, today. And I want it delivered to my apartment by courier because I don't have gas money to drive to your branch. We don't usually do courier services for... Okay, I said. I guess I'll just go talk to my cousin. He has a lot of friends on the internet. No, Thorne shouted. No, that won't be necessary. I will drive it over myself. And the overdraft fees you charged me and the late fees on my bills? We will add an extra $50 to the total for your trouble. $50. It was an insult, really. My dignity was worth more than $50. But the panic in his voice? That was priceless. Fine, I said. Bring the check. An hour later, a silver sedan pulled up to my building. A man in a suit, sweating despite the cool air, handed me an envelope. He looked at me, searching for some sign of the mastermind who had orchestrated a digital siege. All he saw was a guy in sweatpants. We trust that this concludes the matter, Thorne asked, wiping his forehead. I opened the envelope. The check was there. My money. All of it. I deposited that check into a national bank, a big, soulless corporation that at least had functional ATMs, within the hour. But here is the funny part. The thing about the Russian service Nico used? It's a fire-and-forget missile. There is no off switch. You pay for the volume, and they deliver the volume. I tried to text Nico to tell him to call off the dogs, but he didn't reply for hours. When he finally did, he sent a shrugging emoji. The campaign runs for 24 hours. No refunds, no cancellations. So, even after I had my money, the posts kept coming. For another full day, Oak Creek Credit Union was pummeled. Their Google rating dropped from 4.5 stars to 1.8. They had to issue a public apology statement on their website about restructuring their support protocols. I'm pretty sure Gary got fired. I know for a fact the branch manager was replaced because I drove by a month later and saw a under new management banner. I got my money back, I got my revenge, and I learned a valuable lesson. The only thing big businesses respect is fear. They didn't care about my rent. They didn't care about the truth. They cared about the noise. Sometimes I go back and look at those one-star reviews. Some of them are still up, buried under newer ones, standing as a monument to the time the little guy won. But it does make me wonder. I scorched the earth. I damaged the reputation of a local business that employs innocent people, all because of one power-tripping support agent and a glitchy computer. I got what I wanted, but the damage to them was permanent. So I have to ask you guys, do you think I went too far? Or did they get exactly what they deserved? Let me know in the comments below.